started, and just knowing that people will come and join us as well. But hello, everybody. Hello from WEGO Health. My name is Julie, and I am the Patient Leader Network Director here at WEGO Health. And we have Kristen and Jackie, and I'll give them a chance to introduce themselves in just a moment here. But just wanted to say hello and welcome. So glad that each and every one of you are here. You know, WEGO Health is a network of patient leaders who are tirelessly working to really empower the patient voice, whether it's through fundraising, or you're trying to raise awareness, or you're really out in front of the FDA and really changing regulations. There's so many different aspects that our patient leaders really focused on, and it's pretty inspiring, every single person that we come across. And I think it's really interesting that each person that we come across is so different too. Some people have a really active blog, some people have a really active Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, or perhaps they don't have a huge active online presence, but they're really active in person, fundraising, going to events and things like that. So here at WEGO Health, we take these patient leaders and we connect them with healthcare companies who are looking for their insights. Maybe it's through market research, maybe it's through creating content, videos, writing blog posts, and we have our new platform, WEGO Health Experts, that's really taking that up a notch and almost taking us out of the equation and taking patient leaders and matching them up with the healthcare companies that are truly looking for their insights. And you can help develop apps, go to conferences, so many different things. So we are committed as the WEGO Health Network team to really provide you with resources to be better leaders, to reach more of your community, to make more of an impact. And that's where this webinar comes in. So maybe you are an active patient leader, but you don't have a blog, or, maybe you are just starting on your patient leader journey and you really want to catapult there. So tonight we want to go over the basics and really help you, get your feet wet and maybe even elevate what you've already started. So as I said, my name is Julie Cerrone. I'm the Patient Leader Network Director here at WEGO Health. And it's kind of fun because before I worked at WEGO Health, I actually worked with WEGO Health on the other side as a patient leader. I have a blog, it's justabadday.com, and I started writing about my psoriatic arthritis and avascular necrosis journey, and started connecting with other patients, and from there it kind of just catapulted, and I'm here today, so it's pretty exciting. And like I said, I'm joined with Kristen and Jackie, who also make up the rest of the network team here at WEGO Health. So perhaps you get emails from us, or we're like, hey, we want you for this gig, or hey, we're looking for this or that. We're probably the faces or the emails that you're getting, or the pings that you're getting, but maybe you don't get to see our faces. So it's pretty cool that we get to connect with you this way. But we'll let the other two just give a little intro of themselves, and then we will jump right into Blogging 101. So Kristen, want to give a little background on yourself?
It started my blogging journey, I guess, when I started working at WEGO Health. I was so inspired by my awesome teammates, but as well as everyone in the online health community. So I've started my blog, serving of support. It's very new. In this process with you guys, learning Blogging 101. So I know it can be overwhelming, but I'm very excited to dive in tonight because we have a lot of information that will help you get started along the way, because it helps me. So I have no doubt it will help you as well.
I am Jackie, and I have been blogging for a really long time. I think I had a live journal in high school, like way back in the day. But since then, so I have been a member of the Chronic Illness Club for over 10 years now, and I started blogging my journey. That was one of the first things that I did after my first diagnosis of MS. And it was so cathartic for me that it just sort of became the way that I dealt with the subsequent illnesses and sicknesses and all these things. And blogging is kind of a passion of mine, and I have managed and built many blogs, and really think that blogging can change the world for a lot of people and do a lot of good. And so if you're here and you're thinking about blogging, I'm really excited that you're here, and hope that we can help you do the good in the world that you want to do. So with that, let's get started. So step one of basically starting to blog is picking a blog platform. And there are 3 platforms listed here, but trust me when I say that there are endless platforms out there. There are so many platforms. So I picked what I consider to be like the top 3, and just know that blogging is all preference. Every platform is preference. Everything you use just depends on what you like. So I'm giving you some pros and cons of the ones we have listed here, but I also want to preface that a little bit of that this is a little bit of my opinion on what I think is cumbersome to use or easy to use. So I would recommend maybe, creating an account and just poking around in any of these just to see what you like and what you feel works for you. But we'll go through these 3 here, and I'll give you a couple of the pros and cons of what I think are good about them and show you a couple examples of what blogs look like on these platforms. And so the first platform that we're going to talk about is WordPress.com. And there's a little bit of a disclaimer about WordPress because WordPress has WordPress.com and WordPress.org. And if you are just starting and you just want to build a blog, you don't know how to customize a blog, you don't want to customize a blog, you want to go with WordPress.com. And that's the one I'll be talking about tonight. WordPress.org is fully customizable. You need to get a host to do it. You need to buy a domain to do it. It's slightly more complicated. Maybe the next step for a lot of you, or if you want to go right in, that's a good place to start, but it is harder to get started. It's a little more cumbersome. So if you're just starting out or are already overwhelmed with your options, I would start with WordPress.com. And so what I like about WordPress.com is that I think it's pretty user-friendly. It's pretty straightforward. Once you get into the dashboard, it's basically just post, and that's great. The other great thing about WordPress is that it gives you the ability to make pages. So you can essentially make more of a website than just a blog. So maybe you want an about page, or maybe you want a contact page or a resources page. You can do all that in WordPress, and that's very easy to do. WordPress also has ways to post different types of media. So video, images, or text quotes and things like that. And that's important if maybe you're a video blogger, but you want to have a blog, you can put it out there so that way your video is always displayed properly. WordPress has certain posts that do that for you. It's a nice feature to have. It's not a necessary feature, but it's nice to have. WordPress also gives you the ability to purchase a domain, which is something that actually Julie will be talking about later, but you can purchase a domain in WordPress, and a domain is also a URL, so your www.whatever.com. And it just is for simplicity. If you want to purchase it through WordPress, it's again, it's a nice option to have. And then the other really great thing about WordPress is that they have a mobile app, and the mobile app is actually really great. It's fully functional. You can blog from the mobile app. You can check your stats. You can do whatever you want on the mobile app, which I think is really, really great. I never really wrote a huge blog for my mobile app, but it was good. Like maybe if I saw a typo I needed to fix or comments that I wanted to respond to. I love stats on blogs, and WordPress has pretty good stats. So I really like checking my stats obsessively, maybe. The cons to WordPress are pretty simple. If you do WordPress.com, it's pretty limited on the type of customization you can do. So maybe you can put up a custom header. Maybe you can add widgets to the side. I don't think you can add widgets on WordPress.com, so it's even more limiting. The layouts, they give you templates to pick from, but there's only a few templates to pick from. So if you're just starting and you want to kind of see how you feel about blogging, it's a good place to start. But it's once you decide this is something you want to really pursue, you might want something a little bit bigger than WordPress.com. So here are some examples of WordPress.com blogs. So if you look to the one on the left, these are very typical layouts for almost any blog, but specifically WordPress, where you have your posts on the left, your technically they're widgets on the right, but you can't really pick what widgets are there. So it's mostly contact information, maybe a recent blog post, maybe a word cloud or something like that. And the one on the left you can see has links along the top, and actually so does the one on the right. And those are additional pages that you can create through WordPress. So it's more like a website than just a blog. The next one that I want to talk about is Tumblr. And the thing about Tumblr is Tumblr was originally created to be a micro blogging site. So it wasn't really meant for like lengthy blogs the way that a lot of the other blogging sites are. I have a dog. What's great about Tumblrs, they make it really easy for you to find other people that you have things in common with, in terms of like, you can follow other bloggers. So you can basically click on them. They come up in your feed, kind of like a news feed on Facebook or something. And that's kind of cool because it's like following all your friends. You just see what they're up to. You don't have to go to their individual blogs to see what they're doing. It's pretty nice. I mean, I like it for that reason. I don't personally care for Tumblr in terms of a lengthy blog post. Like if you're really looking to share your story and update it regularly, I think Tumblr is just not really meant for that. It also supports various types of media, but it's really meant to be more of a repost of, I found good content on, say, Kristen's blog, I'm gonna repost it on mine, or maybe I found a really good meme on Julie's, I wanna repost it on mine. It's not a great place, I think, and I know a lot of bloggers who started on Tumblr and have since migrated to another platform because it didn't quite do what they wanted it to do. Tumblr is really great if you know code, because it is fully customizable, but only if you know code. So it doesn't have a drag and drop editor like some of the other ones do. So if you're fancy and you know code, it's a really great option. If you don't, it's pretty difficult to customize. So I also think the con of Tumblr is a little bit of focusing more maybe on other people's content, is kind of what it feels like to me, because there's a lot of reposting or reblogging or liking and things like that, versus sort of people come to your page to read your blog. So on Tumblr Examples, there's actually a couple different layouts of what you might see on a Tumblr. On the left is a more typical blog layout of like just a long post, maybe some links along the top and a little bit of about me on the left-hand side. On the right side is a lot of what Tumblr looks like, and this is actually what is called like a masonry layout. Thanks, Andrew, for that term. But basically it's sort of that like pieced together, it looks like Pinterest, where there's sort of just like different blogs or different things laid out kind of like bricks. That's what a lot of Tumblr looks like. And so again, it's all preference. If you like that look and you like that layout, go with Tumblr. The last one that I want to talk about today is Blogger, also known as Blogspot. There was a name change some years ago, and you can still get domains under both of them. Blogger is great if you love Google, and I love Google. So if you already have a Gmail account, you can sign up for a blogger.com blog like instantly, immediately. It's super easy. It syncs to your Gmail. It's really a very simple way to get started if you're just looking to start. It's very user-friendly. It's probably the most user-friendly out of the three, in my opinion. And Blogger has this really great follow feature. So if you are kind of like Tumblr, except with like lengthy blogs. So if I want constant updates about Julie and Kristen, I follow their blogs. On my Blogger dashboard, there's a place where I can go and look and view their blog posts as they post them, less manual work on your behalf. Blogger is pretty limiting in terms of customization. Again, they have templates that you can use. You can't change a whole lot about the layout though. It's pretty much what you see is what you get. So here are two examples of Blogger blogs. And if you see like the one on the left, you can probably sign up for Blogger right now and get that same exact layout with the same exact background. It looks very nice, but it's not customizable. Most of the time there's a sidebar on the left or on the right containing that kind of information about you, your links, your information, whatever. It's a clean layout. On the right-hand side is another one, which is a little bit more in depth. There's more stuff happening on the left and right sidebars, which you can have both on Blogger. Again, this is all preference, and that's sort of something that I want to reiterate on all of these things is, like I said, there's a boatload more types of blogs. You can get a Wix blog, you can get a Squarespace blog, you can get tons and tons of blogs. A lot of it comes down to how tech savvy you are, if you're willing to learn something new or you just want to sort of dive in and go. And sometimes it also depends on if you want to spend money. And spending money is definitely something you can do to make a real snazzy blog. It kind of depends on where you want to, if you just want to blog, do something simple, do Blogger, do WordPress.com. If you want something maybe another step up, maybe a Squarespace blog is it's very user-friendly, but you have to pay for it. And so, and then there's like the full-blown crazy side of I want to buy my own hosting, buy my own domain, and customize my entire blog. So there is room for growth in terms of picking blogging platforms. And like I said, try a couple. I mean, most of them are free to sign up for. Get on there, see if you like the way it works, if it's user-friendly to you, and pick one. And basically the best way to start a blog is just to start a blog. So you just pick one and you go with it. And I think that whatever you pick will work for you as long as you keep blogging.
Really great point. I'm not sure if everybody saw in the chat, Mark mentioned that he actually blogs just in his Facebook group. And I think that's a really great way to get your message out as well. There's so many different tools to getting your message out. So these are just a few that we think are pretty great, and just to give you some options of where to start, but don't by no means let that limit you. I know my sister, she uses Wix for hers, and it's very drag and drop. But it's really just all of preference. So step 2, choosing a name for your blog and buying a domain. All right. I was going to say, raise your hand if you had a hard time trying to pick a name for your blog, because I know this was like the biggest thing for me. There we go. Yep. We got people raising their hand. Yeah. I mean, it's like naming a baby, right? I mean, this is the name that you're going to be associated with. And I remember when I started yeah, right?
And no two people can have the same one. So
right. Exactly. That's such a great point. Yeah. We could have, 55 Julies and Jackies and Kristens, but only one. It's justabadday.com. So it's a big commitment. I remember when I first decided to start a blog, I just sat at my computer and I'm like, holy crap, I have no idea what I want to name it. So you know what I did? I literally went on Pinterest. I got this little notebook and I went on Pinterest and I started writing down all of the quotes that I loved on Pinterest. Like, look at all these pages of quotes. And then I started going through them like, all right, do I like that quote? Do I like this one? Do I like that one? I don't know. But what I found to be really one of the deciding factors, and what Jackie alluded to, is the domain available? Because a lot of them I really liked, but somebody else owns it. Or somebody else, somebody else owns it. That's basically the gist of it. So what I did was, from my list of all these great quotes that I love, I started looking, and I personally pulled up GoDaddy and I started typing in, okay, this one not available, this one yes, no. So it's really, again, what you want to name it, but then also, is it available? So I think it's really important to pick something meaningful for your blog's name. So I ended up going with, it's just a bad day, not a bad life. And you might say, well, Julie, that really doesn't have that much meaning if you had all of these quotes written down from Pinterest. But actually, it really does. And I've actually really began to embody that quote. It's become my mantra of life. And I'm really glad that it kind of picked me because it was available, but I'm really glad that it did. So again, pick something meaningful. It can really be so many different things. It could be your name. So I could have picked juliecerrone.com, which I ended up buying anyway, but I used for a totally different purpose. It can be a play on words. It can be a quote that you like. It really can be anything. So I have a few examples here on the screen. So mine's, it's just a bad day, not a bad life. But the Great Bowel Movement. I mean, what do we think that's about? Or I really love Marla's Luck Fupus. I mean, that's a play on words right there, but it's a pretty strong statement. I'm still Josh. He has his name in there. I know some people like Jessica Yameno, hers is just jessicayameno.com. My friend Lorianne has City Girl Flair because she was a New York City resident, living in the big city, trying to manage her flares. So it can be really hard to pick a name because you want to be creative. And again, it's really nerve-wracking because you kind of have to pick one and stick with it. But I guess my biggest advice for it would be to really think about it and then go for it. If it's available, go for it. So what do you do when you pick it and you go for it? Well, there are a few different ways that you can register your URL. Like Jackie mentioned, sometimes your blogging platform like WordPress, you can register it right through there. Or you can go to Google, GoDaddy, register. There's very many, there's a few different options, and really they all give the same thing. One domain registrar is not going to say something's available and the other one's not going to say it's available. They're all saying the same exact thing. I would say when you register your URL, which is the same as a domain, so you can use those, I use those interchangeably. So like it's justabadday.com, wegohealth.com. That's your domain or URL. You'll have a few options when you go to register it. So do you want to register it for 1 year, a few years? And each will have different pricing. So our advice to you would be to look at the best price and kind of go with that. You don't want to spend a ton of money. If you talk to some of our patient leaders in our network, specifically Bob DeMarco, he'll tell you, I pay $12 for my hosting and that's it. So if you can get a good deal, do it. You know, you might be able to get $12 hosting a year, but you have to buy it for 10 years. But you know, just look at your options. I would say just to buy it for a few years out, because you will get a better option, but really it just comes down to pricing and what really makes sense with your budget. You know, you don't want to spend $300 if it's really just going to be you're writing a post every so often. You'll have a few options again when you are registering it. You know, how long do you want it? How much do you want to pay? Do you want it? Do you want privacy protection? And we all, I think, would agree that you do. That is something that you want. If you don't take that privacy protection, it could be, it really will depend on the platform. It could be $10, it could be $20. Your information will be public. So your name, your address, your phone number, those types of things would be public. But if you do get the protection on your URL, when you buy it, then you will be safe. Now, you want to make sure that your URL makes sense to your site. So you don't want it to be something completely different from the rest of your site. Make it catchy. That's really like going to be kind of your tagline or how you get people there. So you don't want it to be like too crazy long or too crazy complicated, but you know, straight to the point with your blog title. I would say when you start off, so you might go, okay, back up. When I went and I was like, okay, it's justabadday.com, I was given a list of it's justabadday.net, it's justabadday.org, .net, .co, blah, 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 blah. There's so many different options. So what do? Do you buy all of them? Our suggestion would be just start with one right now. You know, as you're blogging evolves, if you really do pick up momentum and you want to buy some more, go ahead, you could pick up maybe .net or .org and kind of redirect them all to the same one. But just start with one. That would really be the best way to start. And once you get it, get something up there. Don't just buy the domain and have nothing there. Maybe park up coming soon, such and such blog, or, you know, under construction. Just have something there so that you can kind of build momentum to it, and you can kind of maybe push it out to friends and be like, hey, this is coming. But don't let it sit, because if you let it sit, then you're probably not gonna do anything. And if you have something parked up there, it might help you momentum wise to really get cracking and get those pages created and get your blog up and running. So there are many different ways you can go about getting your URL, but really if you use GoDaddy or Google or register, then I mean, it all is pretty much the same process.
Can I add one more thing to that?
Absolutely.
The only thing that I would add to that is when picking your blog name and title and domain, all of those things, make it something that you are comfortable telling people. For instance, my blog is bloodpooptears.com, and I know that makes other people uncomfortable. Like, it's about living with IBD, so it was stemmed from blood, sweat, and tears. And so I changed it, and it did really well, and it's catchy, and people know it. But when I meet people for the first time and I tell them that that's my blog, I get a lot of like, oh, well, that's nice. So I would just say, when thinking about it, you know, do all the things we suggested. Make it catchy, make it unique, make it yours, but make it something that you're going to be comfortable telling other people verbally, because written is definitely different than verbal. And I think it's really important, if this is something you want to share with the world, that it's something that you can talk about.
I know creating a name can be so overwhelming. So I was in the process for like months. So I totally get everyone who's starting out, but you will figure it out. And after you do figure it out, you'll want to pick an angle. So again, I know this probably seems like maybe another overwhelming decision, but it's not. We've narrowed it down to 3 angles you could choose. And the first is writing about your personal story. And it's really just that. It's sharing your journey as a patient. It's really a chronicle of your life, treatments, really anything that you want to make it So I think Aaron Blocker does a phenomenal job of this with Support IBD. He uses his own personal experience to really educate and create connection with fellow followers, because if you think about it, if you're sharing your experiences, people that are following you are going through that same thing, they can relate, and with that becomes connection. So Aaron is constantly sharing reviews for different IBD products he's using. He's constantly updating like how he's doing after surgery, his treatment options, that sort of thing. So he's using his own personal stories to help others relate as well. The next angle you could pick is a niche market, and this is a blog with a specific focus. So this would be like, I know I've seen some RA warriors that are also yogi fanatics, and I know David Lyons, he has MS, he's within the MS community, but has a fitness challenge blog. So it's really taking your blog and focusing in on one specific thing. And in this case, we have Cheryl Hile, who this blog is so fun. I got lost reading it. She is blogging about running, get this, 7 marathons on 7 continents in a year with MS. Mind-blowing, like I can't imagine. And her blog is full of all the adventures she's having, from South Africa to Buenos Aires to Honolulu. She has marathons all over the continents, and she's blogging about each of them, and it's really cool. She'll send out emails as well. I think a few weeks ago she was in Antarctica and was talking about how cold it was, and I just couldn't help but think how miserable that must be running in Antarctica. But she's sharing her blog and her experience of running with MS, and it's just a really focused blog on her marathon experience. And the last is a combination, and it's exactly that, because as Jackie had said at the beginning, your blog is really your blog, and it's all preference. And for type A people like me, combination was kind of like my worst nightmare, because I was working with Jackie and Julie, and I was like, I really want to start my blog, but I didn't know what I wanted to focus on yet. And I think for a lot of bloggers that are starting, that's okay. And you have to accept that that's okay, and it won't all be organized, because I had found I kind of wanted to do a niche market where I'm within the mental health community, and I wanted to use my experience of recovery from an eating disorder to educate support. So family and friends who are supporting their loved one. I realized there was lots of education missing there, and I really wanted to start a conversation to fill the gap. But at the same time, as both Julie and Jackie said, writing my own story was also super therapeutic. And at the end of the day, you know, your blog is really meant to be therapeutic. So I kind of have a combination both. Who knows if it'll, once I really start, because I was not hitting publish for a long time until it was perfect. And patient leader after patient leader was like, don't wait to hit publish for when it's perfect, because it will never be perfect. So that's my best advice for all of you. But I share educational pieces, more focusing on my niche market, and then I also share any pieces that could be therapeutic for me as well. And another really good combination blog is Allie on the Run, and this is another blog that I get lost in reading. She's got a great attitude, and she shares, slightly similar to Cheryl, she shares her running experience. She's running all these marathons, but she also has Crohn's, and she shares the day-to-day struggles she faces from Crohn's, whether it be diet restrictions or how she's feeling, and also how it affects her running as well. So those are 3 angles that you can focus your blog on.
One of the most important things that I would argue about your new blog is the About You and Contact page, which can be one and the same or different. And a disclaimer about this is that it really depends on if you are telling your story publicly or if you are telling your story privately. Because if you are telling your story privately and that you don't want to disclose maybe who you are or your name or your photo, some of this won't apply. Because you want to stay private. But if you are using your blog to really share your story or to try to work your way up to being a patient leader and maybe, you know, have a really strong voice in your community, you really need to make sure your About and Contact pages are top notch. And by top notch, I mean you need to have your location. You should have your story, whether that's your diagnosis story or why you started blogging, something about you and why you started this blog, how you got there. If you're blogging about your health history is a really good thing to put in there. Or maybe if you blog about maybe you have one really big health condition that really bothers you, but a couple small ones. You should put the small ones in there too, so people get the whole picture. And then the other things you should have are, have you gotten any awards? Do you blog other places? Have you done any speeches, or have you attended any conferences? Your About You page is really like your health patient resume. Use it to brag. If you have things to brag about them, because people want to know what you're doing. They want to know who you are, why they should trust what you're saying, or how do you know what you're talking about. So this is a good place to show people like who you are, what you're doing, that you know what you're talking about. And the more robust you can make your About page in terms of adding all those different things, the better it will be. I think that the only con to adding all of those things is if you make an About page that's like 3 pages long, nobody's going to read it. So what I would do is I would strongly recommend breaking it into sections with headlines. So maybe it's your story, maybe it's your accomplishments, you know, making it really easy to sort through if somebody's looking for something. I know when we're recruiting for things and I'm looking at blogs, I look at About pages to see maybe if people have blogged other places, or maybe if they've done a speech at a conference before. And those who lay it out really easily, I always really appreciate that, because it's really easy to find their information. And then the number one, arguably most important thing to have on your About or contact pages is your actual contact information, your email address. Like, I mean, don't put your phone number out there, but your email address. How can we get a hold of you? Because putting comments in a blog is great, but sometimes you might not get the notification. You might forget about it. If somebody might want to contact you privately about something that they don't want in a comment on a blog. And so again, this goes to what kind of blog do you want to run? Do you want to be a resource for other people? Do you want people to come to you with questions, comments, support, that kind of thing? If you do, make it easy for them to find your contact information. Put it at the top, put it in the sidebar that never moves. Make it easy. Because when you can't find contact information for somebody who's really great, and you really want to have a conversation with them, it's super disappointing because there's no way to get a hold of them. So when you're making your About page, make it thorough. Tell them who you are, tell them why you blog, and give them contact information so that way they can get a hold of you. And more importantly, so we can get a hold of you when we want you to come do really great projects with us.
I would add just one thing to that too. Make sure you put all of your supporting sites too. So your Facebook page, your Twitter, Instagram, those things, make sure that's on there so that other people can find you in other places. So they'll follow you on Instagram and get your updates. They'll follow you on Facebook so they can see your blog posts. I know we had a question from Stephanie. It was a great one. Jackie, do you want to answer that before we?
I would love to answer that. So Stephanie asked, on Blogger, you can't create multiple pages, so where should she put her About section? And that's a really great question. And what you can do is you can write a post with all of your About information, and then you can hyperlink that post to other places. So if you can put in your About section, I think Blogger leads you to like another back end page where you can edit things. I'm almost positive you can link information in there. So the best way to do that is to basically make it like a regular post, put as much detailed information in there, maybe make the title of that post just about me or about Stephanie or something like that, and then use that URL to post wherever. Maybe you send it out, maybe depending on what you want to do it for, but that's going to be your best way. And there might be another way to if you can do any sort of special, anywhere you can put a hyperlink on that side panel of Blogger. So maybe it's, I don't know what it is because I don't use Blogger regularly, but that would be the best way to do it, is just create it like a blog post.
Step 5, creating supporting sites. When you start your blog, and Jackie and I actually talk about this and use this analogy a lot, a blog is almost like, if you think about a wheel, your blog is like the middle of that wheel. So that's really where you're housing all of your content, where you're pulling people in, you're giving your story, you're giving tips, tricks, whatever your focus is. But to get people there, you can use Facebook. You can use Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, all of these different avenues. And at first it can be really overwhelming, right? Because when you start these channels, each of them are very different. You know, Twitter is very different from Instagram. You know, Instagram's more like Facebook, but Facebook's more long-winded, and you know, there's just so many different things that you can do. So what I would really suggest is to start maybe with one supporting site. Maybe it's a Facebook page, maybe it's a Twitter page, wherever you really see a lot of momentum within your community to draw people in. So for instance, I talked about I Am Josh before, his website. He has all of these different channels. He has his Facebook, his YouTube, his Twitter, Instagram, and they're all very different because each platform, really, you're marketing differently. So it can be overwhelming. Now, Josh is a pro. I mean, if you're looking for inspiration on how to do videos or really pump out some great content, go to iamjosh.com. He is fantastic. So this is an example of someone who's doing this superbly. But don't be discouraged. You don't have to do this right off the bat. You can start, again, just start with Facebook, start with Twitter. What I would suggest is whatever platform you decide, say it's Twitter, you want to start with Twitter, you start your Twitter account, make sure that you name it something that is very similar or if not the same as your blog. So, you know, if your blog is Julie Cerrone, make your Instagram Julie Cerrone. If your blog is It's Just a Bad Day, make your Instagram It's Just a Bad Day, so that people know you. It's very easy to kind of get caught up and maybe, you know, maybe that name's already taken. So for instance, for me, my Twitter name, It's Just a Bad Day, it was already taken. And I can't say I actually fit the standard. Mine is It's Just a Good Life, which makes, I mean, it's kind of in the same realm, but looking back, I really wish I would have just made it Julie Cerrone or Jay Cerrone or something like that so that it was standard. But one way that you really can make sure that you unify your brands is using the same picture on all of them. So maybe you use the same picture, or maybe you use a little variation. So you can see Josh, some of his are the same, or he's always making funny faces, or just very engaging. And you can tell when you look at it, it is him. So make sure that each of your channels represent you and really represent what your blog is focused on. But kind of going back to, if you pick one channel, so say you pick Twitter, try to make connections on that channel. So if you're on Twitter, find some hashtags that people are using. Maybe attend some Twitter chats that people are participating in. Find user accounts that are similar to what you want to do and learn from them. Make connections so that, you know, you can really grow. I remember when I was starting my blog, I wasn't really sure where to start, even though before then I had a blogger, a live journal, you know, GeoCities, all of these different things. But I remember reaching out to Britt Johnson, the Hurt blogger, and Ashley Boyne-Shuck, Arthritis Ashley, saying like, hey, do you have any tips? Like, what can you do? So make sure you utilize other people in your community. And that's a whole other topic in itself that we will be tackling, you know, how to mobilize or utilize your community. But, you know, if you pick Instagram, look at the hashtags. If you pick Facebook, go and look for some maybe support groups or other groups that are on there. Just, you know, to bind together with like people, because they're the ones that are you will want to read your content anyway. So make those connections and use your channels to your advantage.
For the last step, we want to update regularly. And this, as Julie said, can be a little overwhelming if you have too many social sites. So we advise to start small, you know, get your blog established and then maybe add Twitter or maybe add Facebook or maybe add Instagram. One at a time, add these channels. And then when you start to get more comfortable, start adding in additional platforms. And it can really increase your engagement. And as I said before, through connection comes credibility. So the more you connect with your followers, whether it's, you know, sharing your own story or sharing a doctor's appointment, some event that happened that day, that creates connection with your followers. And through that connection, they start to see you as a credible resource if that's the way you want your blog to go. And when I'm saying update regularly, I know it can sound overwhelming, but this could be retweeting other articles. that you found, something you read and that you thought was interesting. It could be sharing a different patient leader's post, which I think this is incredible. I think it's phenomenal when I see other patient leaders within the community doing this, because the online health community is really as strong as the individuals within it. And when we're sharing each other's blogs, we're really building that connection and that network. So you could, post an inspirational quote if you'd like, or post something funny, or just something each day perhaps, to keep your feed active. And you could use a content calendar to help you stay organized. So I know we gave our WEGO Health Awards winner, we gave them each passion planners, which are phenomenal journals that help you plan out, the passion for your blog and what you want to write about. But I know that there's so many free downloadable templates online for a content calendar that will help you organize your information, and it can show you what you should post each day, or if you want to post twice a week. But we discussed this a lot with our finalists from the awards, and what we determined was, really, there's no golden rule of how frequently you're supposed to post or what you should be posting. It's all just trying and then seeing what people are reacting to. So really just start somewhere. You'll get feedback from people's comments or engagement or likes. You'll see that your numbers, you'll see what posts do better, and you'll be able to update regularly based on that information.
Wonderful. So we're going to wrap up, but if you have questions, make sure to put it in the chat box, and we'll answer a few more questions before we completely finish here. But really, next steps, where do you go from here? Create your blog. You've been wanting to create it, so go ahead and do it. Pick that name, pick your platform, just go for it. Don't keep sitting around waiting and waiting and waiting. Let this be the push to just do it. Do it. We believe in you. You can totally do it. Step 2, make sure you either create a WEGO Health account or update your WEGO Health account. So we want to make sure that we have all of your up-to-date information. So if you create a blog, if you're blogging now and you weren't before, we want to know about it. So I actually will pop in the chat box right now the links to either create your WEGO Health account or to update your WEGO Health account. And if you have been an awards nominee and you had an awards profile, you would use that same login for the WEGO Health account. If you have an experts profile, it's the same login across all of our different WEGO Health initiatives. So go ahead, make sure you update it. And even if you haven't gone in there for a while, go in and update it. Make sure that your diagnosis is correct. Make sure that your social channels are right, because that's really how we know what's going on in your neck of the woods, and we can match you up with different initiatives here going on at WEGO Health. And then make sure to stay in touch. Email us, community@wegohealth.com, and I'll pop that in the chat box too. But we're always looking for people to write some blog posts or host a Twitter chat, and we want to know what you're doing. So if you have a fantastic event going on, let us know. Or if you wrote a post about how to be a fantastic patient leader, or how you created an event in such and such landscape, make sure that we know, because we would love to share that with our network. Ideally, I would love our social feeds to just be showcasing all of the wonderful work that you all are doing, because there's some phenomenal inspirational work going on there. So just simple, just go create your blog. That's the last step here. Awesome. Okay, so did we have any last questions?
Barbie had one question, and I think this is a very important question. It is totally okay to blog once a month if you're busy or you're sick or you're tired, because this is your blog, and first, your health goes first. That's what I always tell all the patient leaders, that when they're having a flare or they're not feeling good, they get down on their blog. And I'm like, everyone that's reading your blog knows what you're going through, because you tell them, give your body rest first of all. That's take your health first. But I do think that if you can post more frequently, great, but it's really, your blog and what you can do with your time. And it is such a trade-off, whether you post every day. I know Bob DeMarco is posting 3 times a day, but gosh, I would love it if I could post once a month. Yeah. So I think, Julie, Jackie, you guys can touch better to this, but I just think we tend to forget to put our health first when it comes to making sure our blog is frequently updated.
Yeah, and I think, when we say bloggers, I feel like that's such a overarching term, right? You could be microblogging on your Facebook page or on Instagram and on Twitter. So you don't always have to be putting content on your blog. It's great if you do for your SEO scores. You know, you'll be showing up in Google better, and more people will be able to you know, find you. But for me, for instance, when I was on disability, I was pumping out like 3 posts a week, because really that was kind of my outlet to the world. It was like my job. I was just writing. But now that I am back to work, I post maybe like twice a month. I wish I posted more, but you know, life gets in the way, and then you have to, all of us are patients, right? I mean, majority of us. So we have to put our health first. So I would say just do what makes sense for you, and never jeopardize your health.
We have another question from Rick, and Rick asked a really good question actually, which is, what is the real difference between a blog and a website? He says he runs a website for a small nonprofit, and they have, you know, a contact, they have about us, they have all those things, a donate button, but like, what's the difference between having that and a blog? And the long answer is that back in the day, a blog was just a blog. It couldn't do all the website fancy things, but now that we have platforms like WordPress where you can create an entire website, it does get a little mucky. And the basic difference is that a website provides information like that, we'll say it like that, provides just information. And a blog is a place where it's more of a platform. So if you have updates happening in your business, maybe you post a blog about an event that's coming up, or maybe you post a blog if you have a new staff member, or there's something happening, a new breakthrough in cancer research, you post that in your blog. So the blog is, you can use the blog as maybe news for your foundation, or anything you want to share with your people regularly that doesn't make sense to maybe put in a newsletter. Or a lot of people repurpose newsletter information also in their blog, so you get kind of a twofer out of that. Think of the blog as maybe like short essays or articles that you want to share with your followers with important information. Maybe for you, it's a patient spotlight. Maybe you have really great patients that you want to feature, and you do that. So a blog is more something you update regularly, versus a website is a place where you just generally have more information. Hopefully that helped.
Barbie asked a really great question. So what is the difference between a blog post and an article? And to be honest, I don't know the answer to that, because I use them almost interchangeably, but I'm pretty sure they're not the same.
I think I have an opinion on it. I can't say that it's like factual what the difference is. In my world, an article is something that I write for somebody else. So it's, if I am contracted or somebody asks me to do a guest blog, or if it's something factual, I tend to think that as an article. If it's more of a personal piece, like feelings or emotions or telling my story or something like that, I consider that a blog post.
I like that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It might not be true, but I totally
but
agree.
I believe in it, and I like it.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone so much for coming tonight. I'm sure there are a ton of other questions. Once you go and start your blog, I'm sure you'll have more questions. So make sure that you come back and check out our blog, because we hope that our blog is a great resource for you to be better leaders, to you know, increase your reach, to increase your advocacy work. And you know, we're always happy to support you in any way that you can. So stay in touch, update or create your WEGO Health account. And you know, we are doing these social webinars the last Thursday of every month. So make sure to come back next month in March to make sure that you see the fantastic tips. And if there's any topics that you would love us to cover, if there's something that you just really need to wrap your mind around or anything like that, email us, tweet us, Facebook us. We're always here. So thank you so much, everybody. It's been great chatting with you. I wish we could see everybody's faces, but thank you so much, and we will be in touch.